Sadie likes to go for car rides with her friends until I'm dead and I can see the stars. Yeah, I can see just what you're asking me to do.
Alright guys, hey, first of all, quick little disclaimer. I know I've gotten lots of comments. My audio sucks. I'm using one of these little devices here, and until I'm a rich person and can afford a really nice microphone, yeah, I know my audio sucks, and it will for a while. So that's what you get when everything comes for free. You get what you pay for, and you pay nothing, and you get my really crappy kind of low rate tutorial. So anyway, yeah, enjoy this recorded with this. And I don't think Logitech gives a crap about this being amazing audio, because this is actually like a gaming headset. So yeah, let's get on with the tutorials. Let's make some. Hello everybody. On this tutorial I'm going to be showing, I've had a few people ask on this music video how we've done a few of the effects, which are not terribly complex effects, but there's some effects in the music video nonetheless, and I'm going to show how to go through those, and also to do some cleanup work as well. One of the effects that we have in this video here is the kind of filmy scratch effects here, and this is a fairly simple effect. So let me show you the effects that I'm going to kind of show how we did. And the first one here is playing through this video.
And I just see black and white thoughts keep flooding my brain. Can I just see black and white? Can I just see black and white?
It's kind of scratchy film effects with the black and white kind of transitioning in and out of that. And then the next one is transitioning into this little star field here as they start singing about the stars, and all of a sudden this transitions into this little star field as they're singing with the lens flare.
And I can see the stars. Yeah, I can see colors.
And those are the main effects I'm going to show in this tutorial, and I've got a part 2 to this tutorial here on doing the effects, and a couple things we're going to show in there is showing how to get rid of a license plate on a vehicle, and also some tape that's on the floor inside the studio, some marking tape that is inside the floor on the studio on a moving shot. So I'm going to show the film scratches and also the green screen kind of star field effects in this tutorial, and in part 2 of this tutorial I'm going to show the removal of a license plate and the removal of tape on the floor. Okay, so let's start working on the first one here. Now this footage has not been color corrected or anything, but as we play through this here, we cut from the stuff that's taking place on the soundstage to outside footage that's kind of going along the storyline of this project that is going outside. And in the video, in the final music video, we have kind of those film scratchy things transitioning from one shot to the next. And this is something that can be done in After Effects, but it's very simple to do in Premiere. And in fact, we just did this one in Premiere. So I'm going to show the Premiere method here. First of all, I have this file here, and they have probably a dozen or more of these on YouTube that are HD that you can download. It doesn't really matter if these are very high definition anyway, because when you're putting it in, you're kind of downgrading the look anyway. But what you can do, you can go to YouTube, and there's a bunch of people that have posted these kind of just these black and white film backgrounds here that can be composited into your video. So on YouTube, I'm going to search film scratches overlay. Works pretty well, and you'll see a bunch of different types here that has this kind of old film looking, and most of these are like 6 seconds or so. Here's one that I used, but if you click on one of these and play through it, you have this kind of old film look. So you find one that you like, and once you find the one that you like, there's one with some coloration in it there. Let's grab this one here. I'm going to go to different website, and there's a good website. There's a ton of these that you can extract from YouTube, but this one I kind of like this convert to YouTube. It's called convert to mp3.net, and this is a really good one to extract it. It has like minimal ads, but you're going to grab your browser, you're going to grab your URL here, copy it, Control C, Command C on a Mac, go into this video link and paste it, and I'm going to tell this to convert to, I'm going to do MP4. I'm going to tell this to go up to 1920 by 1080. If it has a 1080 clip, it's going to extract the full HD version of it. And now we're going to hit convert. So MP4 is a good one to use, and full HD. So we've pasted the URL in there, so we'll switch to MP4 1080 HD here, and we're going to hit convert, and it will convert this file for us and prepare a download for us. Here we go. There's the download. So I'm going to grab that file here, and I don't recommend keeping it in your download folder. Put it inside the hard drive that you're working out of, but I'm going to grab and drop it in here. And there's a file there. I'm going to load it into my source monitor. Here's some scratches. These are different ones that we actually use in this music video, but to show the basic concept here. I'm going to go down on my timeline. I'm going to use this as a transition between these two clips here. So I'm going to grab this video. I'm going to drag it down in. It's only 6 seconds, and this is going to be long enough. But what you could do is you could, if you're going to use it over an entire movie, what you could do is create an entire sequence based on this clip here. You can make a new sequence. I'm not going to do it in this instance here, but I'll show you what you can do. I don't need the audio. I'm going to get rid of the audio. Shift plus, make that bigger there. I'm going to go to the end of this. I'm going to highlight this, copy, paste. Now I'm going to grab two of these, copy, paste, Control C, Control V, Command C, Command V. Grab all these here and paste, and I keep doubling these up here until I get as long as I need it. Copy, paste, and I'm just going to paste it a bunch of times here, and now I've got like a 7-minute timeline or longer with all these scratches running here. So now you can use this timeline if you wish. If you need to put it over the entire movie, I can go back here and grab this entire timeline. Let me hit slash and do see my entire timeline. I can grab this timeline. I'm going to lock the audio so it doesn't bring the audio in from this timeline, and drag this right here and drop it over there. Alt select that and delete the audio there, and I've got this superimposed over an entire timeline. So now I can double click on this or go up to the effects controls, go under motion, and grab the scale and scale this to fit my HD screen here right there, so it fits the whole thing. And now all you have to do is blend this, and we have some blend modes under opacity up here. If we go under opacity, I'm going to go under blend mode, and I'm going to tell this to do overlay. And overlay will take out the lighter parts of the screen and leave in the darker parts of the screen. So you have this old kind of film scratch going over the entire movie here. And if you don't like how intense it is, you can go down here and grab your opacity line and drag that downwards until you get the intensity that you want. You just want like a subtle scratch. And that's basically it there, but let's show how we did kind of the flashes here. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to grab this, grab the actual file here. I'm going to drag it in. I'm going to grab this file, double click on it, and just grab the video portion of it, drag it and drop it down on my timeline here to do the transition from the studio clip into the storyline clip here. Now, one thing that I've got here is notice that it actually did the scaling for me. That's because when I drag this in here, this is a 4K sequence, and I dragged it in here, it did the scaling for me. When I imported this under Preferences and General, I had this default scale to frame size checkmarked. So now anything that I drag into anything that I import, it'll have that checkmarked on those clips. So when I drag it in, it automatically scales for me. Now I'm going to select this video here, go to Effect Controls, and go to Opacity, and tell this to do an overlay blend mode. And it will take out the highlights of that image and leave in the darker parts of the image, and we have our old film scratches going there. And it even leaves in the coloration and stuff, which is nice if that's the type of thing that you're going for. Or you can do black and white as well. Just depends on which ones you grab off of YouTube. And one other thing we did here is I also added some kind of white, solid white to this as well, so it kind of whites out as it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this clip, I'm going to Alt arrow up one time here, or Option on a Mac and arrow it up. I'm going to go down to my little new item icon and do a new color matte, and I'm going to hit OK. It's going to set up for the resolution of my timeline, and I'm going to make this white. And I hit OK, and there's different methods of doing this. This is just one way, kind of a simple way of doing this. Oh, I've already got a white down there, but I'm going to drag this. I'm going to put this into my source monitor here, and I've got an in point on it. I'm going to clear my in and out points. I'm going to do Control Shift X, it's Option X on a Mac. We'll clear in points and out points. On a PC, it's Control Shift X. I'm going to go to my timeline. I'm going to jump to the beginning of this clip right here and put an in point. Go to the end here, put an out point. So I've got an in point, an out point, and then I'm going to put an in point on here. This is 3-point editing. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. It'll start right here on the white and fill it in from beginning to end here. And now, since I have assigned my source patching to this clip right here, all I have to do is hit period, and it drops my white in there. So I've got this white here. Although I want 1 frame beyond, I should have taken that 1 frame back. And I've got the white underneath the scratches here. But now what I'm going to do is keyframe this stuff here, the white, kind of make some flashy stuff going on here. So I hit Shift plus to make my timeline higher, and now I can see my opacity marks right here. You can actually go to the wrench here if it's not showing and tell it to show video keyframes, which is already showing. But now I'm going to just go to this edit right here, and I'm going to put a keyframe. Hold down Control or Command on a Mac, put your arrow right over this opacity line and click, and it's added a keyframe there. I'm going to go back a little bit. Let's go back 1, 2, 3 frames. I'm going to zoom up a little bit, and I'm going to hold down Control and click, and I'm going to drag this down. And I'm going to hold down Shift so it keeps it right on the frame there if I need to. So now it kind of whites out, and I'm going to do the same thing here 3 frames afterwards. Right there, Control, click, and grab this, hold down Shift, and drag it down. So now we've got this little white flash there, and if the white happens too fast, you can actually grab these keyframes and drag them over and see what sort of different effects you get. And there we go. So now I'm going to make this one kind of fade in with the scratches here, so I'm going to put a keyframe right there, and a keyframe further back over here, make this kind of, and a keyframe over here, Control click, and kind of make that gradually come in, then the white flashes, so it gradually comes in, white flashes, and then I'm going to make this gradually go out. Control click and pull it down. Alright, and if you want a little bit more of a film look and kind of authentic film look, what happens at the end of film reels is usually when they stop a motion picture camera, there's still light flooding into the camera, and it will overexpose the film towards the ends of the clip. So it's trying to make it look like a natural kind of transition from just the regular film moving to overexposed, and then it cuts to a new shot that kind of cuts in the shot, is what you'll see sometimes on film that's been stopped, and then they do a new shot because the shutter is still open and it's letting light flood in on a few frames, around a few frames where to transition between 2 shots. So if you're going to do that sort of thing, you could pull in your film look here. You could have your film look laid in here, and you could just make a little bit of a gap between the clips here. So when it hits right there, it's going to go to the kind of this overexposed film right there, and then cut back to this. But then you could actually bring down up the intensity towards the center here. I'm going to add a keyframe here and a keyframe back here, so it looks like it kind of gradually gets overexposes that, and then transitions back here. Now if you really want to add to the effect, there we go, that's a little bit of the effect, and then we could even add to the effect by bringing down the opacity toward the end here of the clip, so it looks like it's overexposing the last few frames and then it cuts back. Or we can do a quick little transition here as well on our opacity on this clip here. So then it goes overexposure and then comes back. And that's kind of a different way of doing it if you don't like the little white transition. That's with these keyframes here. Just play with them, see what you get. Now you got this film playing, just settle, and then all of a sudden it kind of looks like it overexposes and goes to the next shot. So that's kind of a cool little way of doing that kind of that real film look of when they stop the camera and it overexposes on that frame, on the few frames around where it stopped, and then they start again and the shutter starts up again and exposes the film normally. Okay, the next shot I want to show here, the next little effect that we did was this little green screen effect here, where let's play through the music and watch this little effect here.
And I can see the stars. Yeah, I can see colors.
Okay, so we've got that little effect there with the green screen that was shot in front of a green screen. So first of all, we did shoot some footage in front of a green screen. If I'm going to go to the clips here and look at the clips, and we've got this footage shot here. We had the matte box kind of coming down because we were going to be cutting off and putting the stars up here, and we've got all this kind of noise in the way and all this stuff here, but we had the matte box down so we didn't get backlight lens flare. We wanted some strong backlight on them, so the matte box was blocking out that backlight there. And here we've got the edit here. It cuts from the studio footage.
And I can see the stars.
To this green screen shot right here. So I'm going to grab this shot. I'm going to hold down Alt and drag it up because I want to leave the original alone. I'm going to send this clip to After Effects. Right click on that and say replace with an After Effects composition. We're going to do this in After Effects. A couple other things that we need here. One other thing we need for this shot is I went to NASA Images online, and a lot of these we have paid for, and these are public domain that you can use. Some of these shots, some of these photos, you'll have to do the research, make sure that you can use them. There are these multimedia galleries that you can go in and find high-res photos of stars that can be used for free. You just have to double check on those things, make sure that they are public domain. They'll have some disclaimers on these things. But you can go to galleries and go to image galleries and search the ones that you need. You can type in like star fields, look under topics, and find the photos that you need. This brought up my After Effects photo there, and I'm going to save this as green screen, and it opens it up in After Effects. Now this here is red footage, so I want to make sure that my color temp, if you got the raw footage, you want to make sure that your color temperature is treating this right for a green screen key to pull a key. I'm going to go to my red footage here, my red raw footage, and go to, and this is the actual file right here, and I'm going to go to interpret footage and main. I right clicked on it, went to interpret footage and main. Down here you go to more options and it will bring up your color options here, and I make sure that there's no tint on this, and I make sure that I'm set at 3200, and you actually try different gamma curves as well and different color spacing, which might give you different abilities to key this image here. So I'm going to hit OK. Once I get that set the way I want, and watch the color shift there, and I changed it to a 3200 with no tint because the way it was shot was slightly different there. So I've got a nice green background. If you're using DSLR, you're kind of stuck. DSLR footage, you're kind of stuck with what you have. But now, first of all, I'm going to perform a garbage mat on this. And when you send raw footage over, it usually embeds the red footage inside of its own composition. Up here, we've got the red footage. It's embedded it as an edited clip instead of a composition, then it put that composition into your composition that you send over. So it's kind of weird the way it does that, but that's the way it works with the raw footage. I'm going to hit enter on this and change this to green screen 01. That's my main comp right there. In fact, I can grab this footage, all this excess stuff, and put it in an assets folder to keep it organized, because I'm going to be sending multiple projects over here. So I've got the green screen there. I'm going to go to my pen tool. With this layer selected, I'm going to create a garbage mat. I don't need all this gunk out here, so I'm going to click and drag to make a garbage mat here, a Bezier garbage mat. Come over here and click and drag, make it kind of curve. Come down here, try to keep that keyboard in. I want to get down here below the image, so I'm going to hold down Alt and scroll and hit H for hand and move it up here. And I need my pen tool back, so G is the shortcut for pen tool. And click down there, click down here, so it's outside the mat there, and click. And I've got a garbage mat. Shift question mark goes back to normal. And now I'm going to pull a key off of this. So I'm going to go to, I'm going to arrange by effects here. Click on effects. And under effects and presets, I'm going to type in key light. And under key light, here is this. I would not grab the regular key light. Get used to just grabbing this key light spill suppressor one here. This is like 3 effects combined into one under image utilities. It combines a key light filter with 2 other filters to kind of pull a key that you need. I'm going to grab that and drop it on my clip here, or on this clip up here like that. And this comes with key light, a key cleaner, and advanced spill suppressor in that order. So I'm going to start with key light here. I'm going to click on this little eyedropper, go over here and click inside the green. And it will pull a little bit of a key there, and I can see it's kind of a dirty key, so it's not quite yet clean, so we can work on that a little bit. I'm going to tell this to show. I'm going to click on my little show RGB channel here and tell it to show alpha. And this shows a nice black and white image. It shows where the noise is. This is not quite a clean key. You want to get this as white as possible in here and dark as possible out here. And the gray will be kind of see-through. So you can let's mess with our screen gain here. We're going to mess with screen gain. And that's getting rid of the background a little bit, but it's starting to eat into the people here a little bit. Let's go to screen balance. Let me change this to half quality. I'm going to grab my screen balance and try to restore as much of that white as possible without eating into the edge of the people. I can see some noise in there still, but that's about as good as I can get it without going too extreme. You usually don't want to go 10 points beyond what it's originally set at here. Then we're going to go into screen pre-blur. It'll blur this screen mat before you actually start working with the screen mat. This is the screen mat here. So I'm going to tell it to blur. Let's try like 4 pixels. And that'll kind of clean up the edges a little bit right there. And that might even be a little too much. Let's go like 2 pixels. We'll look at this later and see what looks best. Under screen mat, we can work with the mat that we've been given now. So now I can go into screen mat and I can clip the black. I'm going to try to get rid of this extra noise out here. I'm going to clip the black, and that looks like it's doing it. You don't want to go too extreme on this or it will start eating into the heads of these people here. And I'm also going to clip the white. I'm going to pull down the white and try to get some of this detail back here. And there you go. So you get this as clean as you can, as clean as you can. You can soften the edges as well. I'm going to go to screen softness. I'm going to soften this by about like 3 pixels, maybe 4 pixels. So we get nice soft little edge there to make it look a little more natural. And I'm also going to shrink my mat by about like 3 pixels maybe. Let's try that out. And it eats into it so it doesn't have the edge there. Maybe that's a little too much, maybe -2. And let's look at our image and see what we're getting. Click on this until it shows RGB. And it's looking pretty good. It looks maybe a little too soft around some of the edges of hair there. So I'm going to go screen softness. Let's try it 3, 2, and that's looking better there. So, okay, so now we've got our mat all done. Down here, the key cleaner is going to really clean up the edges here. If we go to additional edge radius and drag this way over, let's kind of see what it does there. Adds a little bit of edge radius out here, so it kind of restores a little bit of the edge if it's been softened too much. And alpha contrast, you can make it a little harder edged here by messing with the contrast. If you're using with DSLR footage, you can reduce chatter, and this does a really good job on cleaning up bouncing pixels that it sees around the edge. And then the advanced spill suppressor will kill the suppression, or will suppress the green color or whatever color you're keying around the edges. Click on that and it will just kill a little bit of the edge of the green around the head, and it will add a kind of a magenta color to suppress it. And this, you'll notice it does it, especially right here. This doesn't have a lot of green spill on it, but when you click on it, watch the hair right here. When I click on it, here I go, look at his hair, click, see how it kind of like just makes it dark. There's a little bit of green reflection in there that it got rid of. And it's a nice, and if you know how to use this, you can go into ultra and really control the suppression there, but it usually does a pretty good job just by check marking on it. Okay, and I've got a few star images here that I'm going to be using. Some of them that I got from NASA, and I'm going to go to my project here and import that. Let's grab this star field here and drag and drop it in. And now with the photo in here, this is a high-res one. This is almost 10,000 pixels. It's like 10K of resolution, which is really nice. I'm going to drag this down, hold it right under the image here, and drop it. So it generates a background there. I'm going to grab this and move it up. I kind of had the star field up above them like that. I'm going to hit scale. And it ends up right about there behind them. Now we had this animate in really as it went from like the studio. It looks like the stars kind of animate in really quick. So let's perform a little animation with this. I'm going to click on this star background, and I'm going to go to the beginning and click on a keyframe for the scale at the beginning, and I'm going to play into this. I didn't send audio over. I should have sent audio over to listen to when she cues and says the stars. I can probably read it on the lips here. Let's go to quarter resolution, play this back quicker. Right there where the drums come down is where the animation happens. So I'm going to bring this keyframe right there for a starting point and make like a 4-frame animation here maybe. Click add an additional keyframe right there. Go to the beginning keyframe and scale this down to 0. So now it comes flashing in like that, and it looks like it needs to go over a little bit, over maybe a couple more frames. Let's see how that looks. And that was about the speed that we did it in the music video. And then actually from here to the end, it was slowly growing. So I'm going to go to the end and add one more keyframe and scale that up just slightly like that. So it will animate in, and then it slowly animates. And that's probably a little too fast. So I'm going to scale this down at the end, go to the end keyframe, and take this down to 175. So it's just a subtle moving of the stars. Not subtle enough. 170. There we go, kind of subtle there. So let's go to this first keyframe right here. I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to tell the keyframe assistant to ease into this. So it's more of a gradual stop. So it comes to a kind of a gradual stop instead of a sudden stop. Maybe 2 more frames there. There we go. I like that. Okay. A couple other things we can do to fix this up right here is you kind of see a hard edge around the picture frame here. So what I'm going to do is go double click on the actual star image here, grab a mask, and we're going to mask this image off kind of like that. So that's just the only portion that it's showing. Go under mask and change the feather here to blend that in a little bit around the edges so it's kind of softer around the outer edges there. And this is like, now I go back to our composition, and now it's a little softer edged and it doesn't look like much of an obvious photo like it did before. Just kind of softer edges there. Okay. One other thing I can do here is I could actually add a little bit of motion blur to this here because it's like a very high shutter speed right now. So I'm going to go to this JPEG here. I'm going to turn on my shutter on my motion blur for my entire composition here. Turned it on. Let's move this over so you can see what happens here as it's moving. And I'm going to turn it on for this specific JPEG right there. And notice how it just suddenly got blurry. So it's added motion blur to this as it moves. And then the motion blur stops once the image comes to a stop. And the final effect that I'm going to add here is a lens flare. We're going to go up to Layer, New, and do a new solid, a dark solid that's going to be, I'm going to click on color, make sure that this is a black solid here. So we're going to use this as an object to attach a lens flare to and do an overlay. So I'm going to go to my effects and I'm going to type in lens flare. Grab our lens flare, drop it onto this here, and now this will react on this black solid here. All we have to do is change the blend mode. I'm going to go down toggle switches and modes and change this mode here to overlay. So I'm going to do instead of an overlay, actually we're going to do a screen because this is going to take out the overlay takes out the highlights and leaves in the darks, but screen is almost like an opposite. It takes out the darks and leaves in the highlights. So I'm going to do a screen blend mode, and we've got this lens flare going here, and wherever we want to position that, we're going to animate it. So let's wait till the star field comes in. And we're going to start it getting bright. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Alt scroll zooms out. I'm going to get this up here so you see kind of this blooming effect from up here. And let's go to effects, lens flare, and we're going to change the lens brightness. Right here it's going to be at 0, so I'm going to turn this on. Oops. I'm going to turn on the flare brightness right there to start right here. It's going to be at 0, and then when it moves into right about here, it's going to be super bright, and then it will calm down a little bit about right there. So let's go to this point here, and we're going to make the brightness super bright right here. It's almost kind of a blinding light, and then go to the beginning and put this at 0. So right now we play through this. Let's shift question mark. And go to this one here, and we still want it a bit bright, maybe about right there. There we go, we got that bright light moving with this. And now we can change the positioning of the lens flare if we wish. We got that lens flare there, we can change the positioning and animate that. Let's go to the beginning here and go to lens flare center, add a keyframe, and go to the end and add one at the end as well. I'm going to scroll down, I'm at the end point here, I'm going to move this lens flare over here, and we'll see that moving across. So now as it plays through this, get that flare and it kind of moves across, and there's the effect. Moves across, there we go. Now this is a little too crisp right here, so I'm going to calm that down a little bit so it's not too obvious. I'm just going to go to Gaussian, grab my Gaussian blur, drag that onto my black solid here, drop it, and let's turn up our blurriness just to soften this just slightly right there. All right there, so it's, there we go, so it's not so crisp. There we go, and that's how I did the green screen effect for both for the wider shot and for the close-up. And when I was down here, if you don't want, if you go back to Premiere, you'll notice inside of Premiere that the composition has been left here. It will update here in a second and show what I've done in After Effects. But if you don't want that to process super slowly, There it is. If you don't want that to process super slowly in here with the color grading and whatever you're going to be doing next, what I usually like to do, this is 4K footage and a really nice kind of high quality 4K codec to export out to. And so let's go to add to Adobe Media Render Queue. You're going to have to go to Avid's site and install their newer codecs. You have the UHD DNX format that's ultra high definition that adds those features. You can export it out. It's got like 100 megabits per second. It's got 50 megabits per second. It's got a whole bunch of different quality here. Pull this down. I've added these onto my computer here, but added the Ultra HD codec onto my the Premiere comes with the 1920 by 1080, but if you want the Ultra HD, the 4K codec from Avid installed. What I did here, sorry, I was talking through that. I went to Composition, did Add to Media Encoder Queue. It opens up Media Encoder, and I click on this little drop down here and tell it to do DNX. And then over here, I click on this to go to under the specific settings. And the DNX preset here, if you scroll down, and what I said, like I said, you have to install it for your Mac and PC. If you're on a Mac, you may as well just do ProRes. Otherwise, you can use, if you're on a PC, you can use this DNX HQ UHD. There's a really nice high quality. I believe this is like for 4K. I believe it's like 150 megabits per second. I'd have to look that up. But they have charts as well that'll show the quality. I'm going to select that, and it will keep it at 4K. It's almost 4K. It's what's considered 4K UHD, which is ultra high definition. It's a little less than 4K. And then I'm going to click on the output name, select a location, hit save, and export it out. And once you do that, you'll go into Premiere and you import that footage, and you can replace it. I don't replace the original After Effects. I put it over the top. I disable. I right click on the After Effects file and uncheck the enable. So it disables the file, so it's not taking any processing speed. And I grab those replaced files, and I put those files over the top of the After Effects, the disabled After Effects file. So it has the effect in there still, and it has the After Effects one in case I need to reference it. And now you can actually color grade. See, I've actually disabled all the clips below, so they're still there. I have access to them if I need them, but now I can color grade this one on top, and the effect is done. You import that clip, drag it up here, leave it on there, and you're set. So I'm going to go on to part 2 now. So if you have any questions, please post them, and go ahead and watch the music video as well. I'll put a link right here at the end, and we got 2 links here at the end. I'm going to have one for the music video and one to go to part 2. So enjoy.